healthcare, and with more than 20 years of experience in business leadership. She's a great nurse and an award winner, and through this experience, she's learned to be resilient, strong, and realized that the best business lessons are learned through failures. And that's how her passion for technology and creative solutions were born. I'm also joined by Dr. Geoffrey Jada, CEO of Peace and Development Trust. It is a very good morning to you, Doctor, and Mrs. Fuda Indemera. Welcome to the program. I'm on Mira, right here on Classic 263 Radio.
Good morning to you, Tafadzwa. First, we would like to give our greetings to the Radio Commissioner General, Mr. Terence Mapurisana, and of course, to you, our presenter, Tafadzwa Bucheko, and indeed, our listeners in Zimbabwe. Mrs. Ndemera, Fungai Ndemera, is going to add some spice into our topic through her broad experience in the public health area, and not only in Zimbabwe, but also abroad. And indeed, what we wanted to focus, what we would like to focus on today is actually the effects, the consequences of drug abuse on the major institutions of society, the family, the schools, the business, working place, and indeed the society in general. Do you know, if there was no effect because of drug consumption, drug abuse, we wouldn't be talking about it. But because the negative effects of drug abuse is messing up, is menacing the society, is menacing our young people, is menacing certain institutions, we are obliged to talk about it. And I hope Mrs. Ndemera, Fungai Ndemera, will also add her experience of what drugs are also doing in places like the UK, you know, to the families, to the schools, to the working place. So these are generally what we would like to look at and hear from people how they feel indeed drugs or drug abuse is affecting their lives.
And on that note, we would like to encourage the listeners to send in their questions, their feedback, whatever it is that they might need to share, especially on this topic on our WhatsApp platform number 0719-498-651. That's 0719-498-651. Well, Mrs. Ndemera, when we talk of the effects of drugs on the family, what are we looking at? What kind of effects are we looking at when we talk of effects on of drugs?
Good morning, Tafadzwa, and thanks for having us again in your beautiful space. Thank you, Dr. Chanda, for the introduction. I think that there are effects. Today I want to focus my conversation from the place, the effects that we don't necessarily think about every day. Okay. There are effects that we see every day and we think, okay, we can see this person is taking drugs, maybe because we see that through their behaviors, which would have adjusted, or we see them looking drunk, and it's obvious that we can see, right? Because it's visible to us. But there are effects that we don't think about every day, which we tend to deal with in my day-to-day work every day. And these are your emotional effects of drug abuse and health, physical health, and mental health effects. Now, emotional effects, they are not tangible.
Yeah.
If somebody is emotionally challenged because they are taking substance or they are misusing a substance, we are not going to know up until the time when we can see signs and symptoms that are visible to the eyes. So it is very important, I think, for us as a society to start having these conversations and engage at family level. I think at that institution level, that's the institution, the first institution is our homes. So that we can deal with issues that probably are the ones which are leading people to misuse drugs in the first place. And these issues are inside. They are in the mind. They are in our emotions. And I think that that will be the first place to start for us to have the conversations. So the impact that we then see after somebody has taken the drugs and they have misused substances, we are not going to see the emotional side of it, but we are going to see the symptoms or the outcomes of having taken the drugs. So I think let's have a conversation around the issues that are leading us to wanting to be misusing drugs. What are those? And I believe that they are in the emotions. They are in our feelings. They are in what we are going through inside that other people may not see. That's really how I look at it.
Indeed, she touched on something that normally we don't discuss because we can't see it. But when you let's look at a kid, very bright, but coming from a very poor family. Nobody has come his way or her way to help her manage poverty. And they give up on life. They start taking drugs as almost like an escape. I am getting A's at school. Nobody's paying attention to me. Now I'm going to make them pay attention to me. I'm going to take drugs. And they begin taking drugs. What is the reason at this stage? Why is he or she taking drugs? It's the frustration that society is imposing on him or her as a result of poverty. She didn't call for poverty. She didn't ask for poverty, but she was born in a poverty-stricken family. And she doesn't see her way out of it. She gives up. They say, what's the use? I might as well have fun.
Okay.
They call it fun, but it's not fun. So the internal, the heart, the attitudes that begin to develop as a result of the effects of the surroundings, their surroundings. Poverty is in fact, one political leader, Mahatma Gandhi, said, poverty is the worst form of violence. This is violence on this kid. He is feeling being violated as a result of the fact that she cannot do things that other kids from rich families are doing. And she gets involved. So that emotional part, that internal part has not been examined. Thank you, Ms. Ndemera, for bringing that out. Has not been examined. We can talk all we want. If we don't try to correct the environment in which the kid is growing, we may be actually inducing drug abuse.
I wanted to add back on that example, Tafaz. I've got another real life example where a couple has got 2 children, and the young people were about, between the other one is 10, the other one is 15, and they're having marital problems. Now, during their journey of having marital problems, they don't engage the children in the conversation of what they are going through. They assume the kids are okay, and we are going to just deal with it as adults, right?
They don't see what they're doing is also affecting the kids, or
they don't realize, I guess, or culturally, do we have conversations when we are having marital issues with our children? Do we?
yeah.
Let's have our audience talk to us. So they choose not to have conversation and engage or involve the children rather. Also, all this is happening. But
So in a way, you're actually saying when you're having marital problems, we should let the kids know, like when it's now deep.
I think
When
we should.
We are at the stage of maybe there's separation that's coming through, there's divorce that's coming through.
I think we should engage them in the conversations. Let's involve them, because this is the institution, the family institution. This is family home, and this anything that's going to happen to this institution, remember, is going to affect everybody involved in the institution. Anyhow, fast forward, they end up separating, and one of the girl's child, the younger one, stays with mom. They have got no options for the young boy because mommy is downgrading and moving into a smaller house, into a 1-bedroom house. Dad is just going to do what he has to do, whichever. So they have to make the young boy go and live with grandparents in the village. Now, there is the problem. when we spoke to the young girl, she says that she withdrew straight away. She felt that she was not involved, she disengaged, and the breakdown of the family led to depression for the young girl. And we're only talking about 10-year-olds and 11-year-olds up to the 15-year-old, the older one. The older one ended up committing suicide. Right. So this is an example that I'm giving, coming back to the emotional engagement. There are things that we are taking for granted to say, oh, these children are only young, so it's okay, we will try and figure it out, or we try and manage. But we are not realizing that the world has changed. We have got to engage them emotionally and mentally to have the conversations and let them be part of the institution. And then that way we are also going to understand what's happening in their worlds. If at all somebody had engaged with the young people at the point when mom and dad are struggling, somebody within the family would have picked up that these kids are picking up the vibe between what's happening between mom and dad. That's another example I can give.
Okay, on that note, we have a listener who has just contributed.
Thank you.
And they're saying, kuisavana muma problems edu, say marriage is a question, say a marriage, would it not affect them? What if tikagadzirisana later on abatavaudza kuti we are having problems? Please help me understand that.
Okay, so I'm not saying with the equity we are having problems, but involve them in the conversations. Simplest thing is to make them aware, because remember, emotionally they are picking up the vibe. What's happening between you and the dad, they feel it. You might not talk about it, but they feel it. So all we are saying is address the feelings. Don't say you are having problems, but bring them into the picture and walk the journey with them. That's what I think.
Actually, I brought an issue which COVID-19 created. During COVID-19, factories closed. Banamai were not allowed to be vendors anymore. There is no income in the family, and they can see it. They've got 2 children in high school, secondary school. The other one may be in primary. Now, the wife expects the husband to provide. The husband expects the wife to help by lending. Those income streams are no longer there. This is where I think this is the point she's making. Let's involve them. You can see Daddy is no longer going to work because his factory is closed. Not because he has no job, but once the factory is opened, he'll go back. Mommy can no longer go to the corner store and do what she used to do because the vendors are no longer allowed. It means, children, our income here is very limited. We have to budget and rebudget so that when mommy and daddy shout at each other, they understand where this is coming from. That this COVID thing, our parents were good parents, they never shouted at each other. All of a sudden they are beginning to shout at each other. What is happening? If you explain what has happened in the outside world to your children, which has affected the way you are living in your home, the children will understand. They will understand when you get angry. They know you are not normally an angry person, but the situation is making you angry. I think this is the point that Mrs. Demera is making. Let's involve them. It's not just under normal circumstances, but the COVID-19 actually was a classic example of where children had to be made to understand what is happening in the lives of the family as a result of what's happening out there. Not only that, even under normal circumstances, when there is no COVID or nothing, it is important for parents to learn to communicate with their children, to learn to discuss issues with their children. But somehow, we parents think children should not be communicated with. But children are growing. They are having issues of growth, of development, challenges. A kid is becoming a teenager. There are certain challenges that the kid is facing now. She doesn't even know where to go. In the olden days, they will be told, go to auntie. But auntie is in Blawa, is in Wange, is in Victoria Falls. And I've never seen her. I don't even know her. She doesn't even know her. Where does she go? You become an aunt. You, the mother. You become an uncle. You, the father. You have to answer certain questions which your brother, your uncle, your aunt used to answer. This time, you have to face reality. And this is the point she was making. We have to face reality.
Okay. There's just from one listener saying, I think they're asking, maybe let's help each other on when we should start this communication. At what age? Can you tell a 5-year-old that mommy and dad are going through this? Can you tell a 7 or a 10-year-old? How do you calmly tell them?
I think I want to correct, and I don't want to use the word tell. We want to have a conversation and engage them and involve them. Right? So we are engaging them at every level. If we have got that relationship, if you woke up and things were not well and you had a black eye, it doesn't matter your child is a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old. From where I sit, your child is going to be worried and stressed. Why is mommy looking like this? Now, I'm not saying let's tell them we are having problems. But there is a way we can have a conversation with our children. You can wake up and say, Manango, mommy is not well today because of 1, 2, 3. But we need to engage them and involve them. All I'm saying, let's explain. We cannot assume that our children are not emotionally involved in what is happening. So that engagement and that relationship must really be there already from day one. It must not happen on the day when there is an issue. It must be on days when things are very good, and it must be on days when things are very bad. But let's engage them. I remember when I was young, my dad, baba vangu vaishanda ku clan, vaingori driver, vaitambira 90 something. I remember seeing his payslip here $97. I remember seeing payslip here $97. And I remember my dad would sit us down nekwanda kwedu. But when he came home every Friday, right, when I pay slip yangu ish. Mom chida ma sweets and ma freezes this weekend, but ndo mariedu ish. Saka toita say ne mariedu ish. So if your dad and your parents are involving you when things are good, when things are bad, you can sit down with your children and say, Vanango, taneta na mama, taneta na dad, nenya ya ish. What do you think nenya ya ish? Okay. That's how I look at it.
That's great. Do you know, we underestimate the level of understanding in children. Be careful. Don't think they're too young to understand it. Give them what they can understand and they will be able to accept it. Now, this I also learned in watching television reports on the war in Ukraine, Russia-Ukraine war. The parents, some journalists are very inquisitive. You, the likes of you, Atafadzwa, are very inquisitive. They said, how are the children taking it? They can see the tension. And some of the parents say, the children understand what is happening, even though they are not able to express it. They understand there is friction. They understand there is conflict, but they can't put it in words. So don't underestimate their level of understanding because you think this is high level discussion between mom and daddy. No, reduce it to their level. We had a disagreement, and this disagreement has not been resolved. When two people disagree, sometimes they become physical, and that is normal. I can see that happening even when you grow and you disagree with your friend. Sometimes you end up scratching each other because you don't know how to express it. That's how it's happening. I used to work at OK's. I used to work at Delta, and now the factory has been closed. And the bottle of Coke I used to bring here, I can't bring them anymore because the factory is closed. Because the factory is closed, no more paychecks. Because no more paychecks, I don't know whether I'm going to be able to send you back to school. They understand. Let's not underestimate their level of understanding because we think this is for mature people. No. Let's bring them in and share with them so that even though they cannot express it in words, but they understand where the tension is coming from. They become they become participators. Your pain becomes their pain. And before you know it, oh, mommy, it will be all right. Now, your daughter comforting you, it will be all right. In other words, they have understood what you're going through. It's not your fault that you are going through that. But they are faithful, they are hopeful, this thing will stop.
Absolutely. And then that leads to them not then going to seek for answers outside.
Yeah.
And now that, because if these emotions are not addressed at home and they're not dealt with, they are going to look for answers outside. And I believe that one of those methods is recreational drugs to try and address those emotions. So hence my point, coming back to say we have got to look for a way as a society to maybe start at home and improve on our communication, improve on our relationships. We understand what's going on with our loved ones, and hopefully that's one way. It's not going to be the 100% answer, but that's why we're having this conversation, right?
It's that. You know, normally we look at the drug abuser as the only person who is being affected by the abuse. But once a kid is now abusing drugs, it affects the parents. It affects, do you know the shame of being taken as a person who has failed to manage his family? Look at the kid, they are now on drugs. They don't even go to church. They care little about the values of this society. The shame that you go through, it has an impact on you, the parents. Never mind the abuser. Not only that, in order to finance their habit, they'll begin to steal from you. You don't leave your wallet on the counter. No, they will look for those dollars. Some of the beautiful shoes of mommy will disappear. They'll be sold. Some of the best dresses, not the best, perhaps jackets of mommy will disappear. They'll be sold. You begin, even the siblings' clothes, they will begin to disappear. They are being sold in order for the abuser to buy his drugs. The abuser can also be violent. The violent to both parents as well as the siblings. Aneta mondi mumba. Mnengemane binya mumba. How do you handle it? You don't even know when he is going to be so crazy, he can come to you with a knife. How do you handle it?
All right. 0719-498-651. That's our WhatsApp platform if you want to make any contributions. Well, Mrs. Lemera, you talked about emotional effects, the physical effects. Let's look at the physical effects of drug abuse.
Absolutely. So on the physical effects of drug abuse, I want to just bring to the point and add to what Doc was saying. Now the symptoms are manifesting now. We can see them, and now the manifestations are visible. The manifestations are now visible. So on the physical part is that financial abuse starts to happen where around the person who is misusing the drugs. There is that issue now, the financial challenges, right? And then on their health, when you are misusing drugs and taking anything in excess, it can be as good as taking a drink in excess, paracetamol in excess, cough mixture in excess. It means that every single thing that we take in life, remember, has got side effects. So whatever the side effects of that thing that you are taking are going to be multiplied many times because you are taking that substance in excess. So
what is the difference between addiction versus dependence rather?
Oh, okay. So
May I come
I
in?
need to check.
May I come in? Addiction is physical and emotional dependency on a drug, on something he or she can't do without it. You just, as soon as you see something related to it, you go for it. That's the addiction. In other words, your body is now tolerating what has been taking place in you, and you cannot live your life without that particular. It could be prescribed, for all you know.
Yeah.
It could be illegal. But it comes to the level where you cannot manage life without it. That is addiction. Abuse is a difference. Abuse, it could be you are actually taking something that is legal, like prescribed drugs, in excess. That is now abuse. Or you are also taking something that is illegal, and you know you are not allowed to do it. That is also abuse. So there is that distinction. Addiction should be, it's like an alcoholic. An alcoholic, the next day, all he needs to do in order to get drunk again is to drink water. And he is high again. And that because he cannot do without it.
All right. Well done. We have a contribution from a listener here. And they're saying, thank you so much for the program. But vana vatrukuvapa zvese, trukuvaitira zvese zvavanoda. They are not lacking anything. Seso my parents tatopererwa. I just to it as I think they're saying they're giving them everything that they need.
May I come in on that? We are not giving them everything. We are not giving them the attention they need. We are not giving them the chance to ask us difficult questions, to converse with them, to communicate with them, which Mrs. Demira was talking about. So we are not giving them everything. They need time with us.
But apparently,
we are saying material things. I agree. But there is one thing that you are not: attention.
Okay.
Time to find out what is happening in his or her life. Time to find out their values. Time to just be with them so that they just enjoy our presence. When we are not doing anything, just enjoying our presence.
May I also come in on that one?
Sure.
I was going to add to say, for me, thank you listener kutipa feedback. So for me, I want to underline the keywords kuvapa zvese. And from where I sit, ndiroda mdziko racho. Kupa munhu zvese, so that they lack nothing. Now, let's look back. Personally, I'm going to look back on my journey. And I think coming from difficult situations and having experienced difficulty from a young age actually was good for me when I look back, because I had to learn some resilience at a very young age. I told you my father, I even a pay slip in $97. And my father used to say, Fungai manangu, upenyu unotoshandira, upenyu unoshandirwa. Kana uri kuda bhasikoro, ina handina mari yekukupa bhasikoro. But you know what? If you work hard and learn hard, I want you to work hard mwanangu. Ugotenga bhasikoro iroro. Saka ngatigare pasi, where is the report echikoro? Tasvika papi nechikoro. What is our plan this week yekuti tigadzire? Tiwane mari yekuti tishande this week. So we were part of the conversation and part of the contribution to the family needs at a very early age. And for me, I believe that's where my resilience came. Because I have to work. I've got no other choice in this life. Now, kids nowadays, my children included, it is very difficult to find that balance because we grew up through that. And now we don't know where to strike the balance. We are overcompensating. That's the word that I use. Okay. Is actually overcompensating because we are now not teaching them to lack so that they can figure out and use their brain and their minds. Now takavapa zvese kusvika vakura vasvika 18 and 19 and 20. Now they are in the adult life. They don't know what it means kushaya mari rent. Saka they break down. They have to look for ways to compensate for that resilience which they don't have.
What if Arupiwa Jese asatha kubhadala rent? Arupiwa Jese at 13, 14.
And that is a problem. We need to prepare our children for the realities of the world when they are now going into adulthood. Remember our conversation last week, and that's what we are not doing because now another point mukubapa comes my conversation around kubapa even my devices, which we parents, we don't even know which world they are living in those devices. Vane internet, vane the best iPhone, but are we involved in that life here? Could teens we say what is happening in the world? That's another conversation for another day, because for me that is where the huge gaps are. They are on the social media streets. Do we know which streets they are walking? Do we know who they are engaging with? More. There you go.
But we are not giving them the training, which Mrs. Demira is saying. The training of life. I grew up in the rural area. I'm not an urban kid. There used to be times when my parents would not have money to buy exercise books. Do you know what they would say? Ndamuneta maricho kusakurira vamwe vanhu minda yavo mopuwa 6 pence. And the next day, go and buy your exercise book. And we survived. We learned. We passed. We conquered. We were not born like where we are. We were not given everything. We were given ways of solving problems. We don't give our children today ways of solving problems. We solve problems for them. When the problems now meet them alone, they get frustrated. They don't know what to do. So, parents, let's go back a little. You might think we are too old-fashioned. Yes, we are old-fashioned, but teaching the right things of life. The new fashion is destroying our kids. We should not give them everything. Do you know we are manufacturers of delinquency in our kids? By giving them everything. They become delinquents because of us. As she said, they never lacked. And they never learned how to live without something.
All right, 5 minutes. 5 minutes left. 5 minutes before the news at 11 o'clock. Maybe we can just round off this. We really didn't touch much.
Thank you, Tafazo. I would like to just emphasize that I think this is a conversation that we are having as we observe what is happening around us. And we are not bashing, we are not here to bash our parents, and we are not here to bash ourselves as parents. But we are just trying to uncover and get understanding why we are where we are today. And I think this is a conversation we would like to continue. But I wanted to add Tafazo to the fact that the physical effects that I spoke about earlier on now are going to be the stress on the parents, the stress on the loved ones. Everything else around our society is very judgmental as well. You get judged and you start to probably not cope. So there is help and support available. That's why podcasts like PDT exist. Reach out for help. And we have got Advantage Health who have put together packages to support those taking the substances and those who need support, to say there's packages available.
Okay, just to cut you short. Sometimes people do not want to reach out because they do not want their family issues exposed. That's another issue. That people, they do not want to be judged.
So we are coming forward and say, we are here. You don't have to say your name, but anonymously reach out for help. And there is somebody, as a family, as an individual, just don't keep it bottled inside, because that's what's leading to my high blood pressure where munanongo fuma chinzi vakafuma vakafa vakadona vakarohwa nezvino hakuna zvinhu zvinorova vanhu. People are stressed. So reach out for help. And then secondly, Advantage Health has put forward packages to support families and those who are abusing drugs to see if they can be supported, reach out for rehabs and stuff. So contact advantagehealth.co. ahmaz.co.zw. And here at Checkup Health, we are offering free physical health services where you can reach out. We're giving out my BP machines and my diabetes monitoring machines. So reach out to checkuphealth.co.uk. Our clinic is in Rua and our nurses and our doctors will come to you. Don't get stressed and get mental health support. Like we said, emotions are in the mind. Speak to someone and get your mental health looked at. Because we are all moving around and thinking we are okay, but we are not. That's when we're having high levels of suicide and people getting distressed. So please, guys, get the support. And thank you so much for listening to our listeners. Thank you.
Thank you. My summary, my conclusion to this discussion is that what can parents do? Number one, parents, let's find time to communicate with our children. Let's give them quality time. Let's know their friends. Once a kid is hooked on drugs, don't be angry with them. You are getting angry with a victim. A victim needs help. Help can come through institutions like ours, Peace and Development Trust. They need love. Learn about the drugs that they are taking so that you can make an intervention. Try to develop trust so that they can open up to you. When they open up to you, you also have an opportunity to tell them that they are being cheated by the drug dealers. Drug dealers are after their life to kill them. They should not listen to them. So that can only happen if we open up to our children and our children open up to us so that we have that conversation that Ms. Ndemera was talking about. Mm-hmm. That is very important. Let's not keep our children quiet by giving them everything. No, we are actually creating a grave for ourselves by giving them everything. We are making delinquents out of them instead of raising up to be children who are good citizens of this country. Mm-hmm. I think.